Some people love tattoos. For them, tattoos are art, identity, and self-expression. But there's another group we don't talk about much. People who never get tattoos. Not because they're afraid. Not because they judge others. They simply choose not to. And that choice says something interesting about their psychology. First, many people who never get tattoos value permanence very seriously. Tattoos are permanent. And for them, permanent decisions require deep certainty. They tend to think long-term. They ask themselves, will I still love this in 20 years? If the answer isn't 100% yes, they would rather not do it. This often shows a cautious and future-oriented mindset. Second, they usually separate identity from appearance. Some people express who they are through clothing, hairstyles, or body art. But people who avoid tattoos often believe identity is internal. They feel they don't need to mark their body to prove who they are. Their sense of self feels stable without physical symbols. Who they are is something they carry in their values, their behavior, and their decisions, not on their skin. Another reason is control. People who don't get tattoos often like keeping their options open. They may dislike the idea of being locked into one design, one message, or one version of themselves. Psychologically, this can reflect a desire for flexibility. They want the freedom to change without being tied to past decisions. They understand that people grow, beliefs evolve, and meaning shifts over time. Some of them are also highly sensitive to regret. They imagine future scenarios very clearly. They picture themselves older, with different tastes, maybe different beliefs. If there's even a small chance of future regret, they avoid the risk completely. This doesn't mean they overthink everything, but they are careful with irreversible choices. They prefer decisions they can adjust, rather than ones they cannot undo. There's also a social aspect. In certain families or cultures, tattoos may be discouraged. People who never get tattoos sometimes value harmony and approval from their environment. They might prioritize fitting into their social circle or professional world. Their decision can reflect loyalty to tradition or concern about long-term reputation. They think about how today's choice might affect tomorrow's opportunities. On the other hand, some people simply don't feel emotionally connected to tattoos. They appreciate them on others but don't feel a personal desire. Psychologically, not everyone seeks visible symbols of meaning. Some people process emotions internally. They write in journals, think deeply, or express themselves privately instead of visually. Their depth doesn't need decoration. Interestingly, people who avoid tattoos often score higher in delayed gratification. They can want something, but still choose not to act on impulse. This self-control shows up in other areas of life too. Finances, relationships, career decisions. They pause. They reflect. Then they decide. They are comfortable waiting until something feels fully aligned. However, it's important to understand something. Not having tattoos does not automatically mean someone is conservative, boring, or closed-minded. And having tattoos does not mean someone is rebellious or impulsive. These are stereotypes. Psychology is more complex than that. A person's character cannot be measured by ink, or the lack of it. At its core, the decision to never get a tattoo usually comes down to personality. Traits like caution, long-term thinking, sensitivity to permanence, and internal identity stability. It's less about fear and more about preference. It's less about judgment and more about personal comfort. In the end, tattoos are about self-expression. And choosing not to get one is also a form of self-expression. It quietly says, this is who I am, and I don't need to put it on my skin. And sometimes the loudest statement a person can make is choosing to leave their skin blank. And that's the psychology behind people who never get tattoos.